All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. One Simulation Talk 255. These numbers move fast. I do like my need for a haircut right now. It's kind of perfect, isn't it? So, how are everybody doing in the community? Today I have a wonderful surprise for you guys. I mean, it's not really a surprise because I told you guys about it, but we have my really good friend Wendy, who is an expert in, well, she will define herself in a moment, but I guess she is a code reader. She understands people's codes very deeply. She sees them, she feels them, and she can help people change them. And she's going to be talking more about that. Let me see that we're not missing anything important here. 1 second. Making sure that we don't have any comments that need. Oh, I see there was a group call. Ebony, was that something important? Today I was kind of all over the place in terms of meetings, so I didn't have time to look at all this stuff. Was this something important? What's up, Dr. Luke and Tom and Ebony and Chris and Guru, everybody in the house? Welcome everybody joining on TikTok. We'll give you a couple more minutes to stream in. If you guys want to follow us on Twitch, by the way, it's LaserX83. If you want to help our Twitch channel grow, that'll be wonderful. And you can check out our website, codeofreality.com. It has a lot more information about the project. You can also grab yourself some merch and or look at the protocol and see what's required for the laser stuff. So that is on that front. Let me give you this information here. There we go. So I think we'll just gently slide into it without much further ado. I want to introduce Wendy. She's with me on the line. How are you, Wendy?
I'm awesome, thank you.
You have a great voice for the radio, even, I would say. Like there's a very beautiful feminine energy there, and it's very calming. So, which is not surprising. I told you on Discord, it's even better. The audio always comes through really well. Everybody can hear Wendy okay, I'm assuming?
Testing.
Perfect. What's up, my Brighton? Okay, so I don't know how much time Wendy has to allocate for us, but however long you have for us, Wendy, that's wonderful. Whenever you have to jump off, you just let me know. There's no problem. There's no pressure whatsoever. But I think there's a lot of wisdom you get that you can share with us that we can benefit from. So I wanted to share this with the community. So thank you so much for joining us, first of all.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm honored to be here with you guys.
Awesome. So how do you define yourself, if at all? Like when somebody asks, what do you do? What do you answer?
Yeah, that's always a sticky one, right? Generally, I describe myself as a reality architect, one who supports humans to know thyself in the most profound, pure way.
That's incredible. I mean, that is something to put on a business card. Reality architect is a good thing to put on a business card. Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to, I'm sure people can have questions in general, but what we wanted to touch on, which we kind of spoke about quite a bit between you and I, but also in the community recently, about what some people experience as the awakening. And I would say this has a lot of flavors. People experience it, I think, from a spiritual perspective. Some people may be experiencing it from a religious perspective. But some people even, I would say, experiencing it through what seems to be technical stuff, like AI and things like this. They discover new possibilities in how they can be in the world, how they can think in the world, and it both is very exciting and thrilling, but also can be a little bit overwhelming for some people. And I gave you a couple of examples that I'm personally familiar with people that went through this process of the awakening in a very, let's put it, in a zany way. What's up, Wendy? I'm glad to see you here in the chat as well. And you said something interesting. I said that I think it's because a lot of information and energy is moving through them and they don't know how to handle it. But you had a slightly different take. And one thing to maybe mention about how you approach things in general is that you're very neutral. So there's never judgment in what you're saying. It's more like you're just stating what you're seeing in the codes. And I found this particularly interesting because of that quality that you have. The thing that you said to me, and you can expand on that, of course, Tapalipsian, is that, and Amanda, good to see you, is that you see that this burst of kind of manic episodes, it seems to be stemming from a large concentration of fear that is in the avatar, in the individual. So they, without even realizing it, they're basically resisting it, resisting it, resisting it. So when it bursts, it's like a spring that just is released. So everything just flies out. And that's how you see this like very manic kind of a thing. And then you said to me, you challenged me, and I said, well, I think some people are going through something very special. And you said, well, I think everybody are going through something special. It's just that not everybody has this amount of resistance to it, so they're experiencing it in a more harmonious way. And of course, it's a spectrum; it's not a binary. But can you say a little bit more about your thoughts? Also, you said that I think you said there was some other insights. I don't know if it was about this or it was about something else, but I would love to hear, first of all, from your own mouth, I would love to hear how you're outlining it, because I'm sure that I've confabulated some of the stuff that you said. And then we can run with it. First, let's start with I do want to acknowledge that this was an interesting thought for me that maybe sounds like we're saying almost the same thing, but I don't think so. And I think you might have a better handle on it, to be quite honest. So I would love for you to expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when you brought it to my attention about the manic experiences you were witnessing with others as they're like waking up in a very speedy fashion, it's not something that I've been seeing in my reality anywhere, except for I think you had me support you once with someone in real time. Other than that, I hadn't seen it. So all I have is my experience of what you're saying and the potentiality around what's actually happening, what's going on in the field and their field and everyone's field for that matter. Because we're all opening up to ourselves in a greater way, which we call awakening or enlightenment, or we're all growing into that it feels like evolutionary experience. And from my perspective, as when I'm looking at, say, as a reality architect, I can see the programming. My favorite analogy is that we can perceive our reality through the lens of awareness, right? Awareness is what everything sits upon, and what we get to experience everything with and on, right? So if we are the programs and we are the programmer, we're the computer that the programs exist in, we're also looking at our reality, our life, which is the monitor. And everything that sits on is awareness. So the operating system is awareness, which holds all of that. Does that land?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So awareness is what is moving through us, and we are experiencing it in our own unique way.
Right.
So because of that, the programs we're carrying indicate the experiences we're going to have in our reality. So if we're carrying a lot of frequency programming around fear, it doesn't matter where they came from or why they exist. The matter is that they are in existence and that we are experiencing them. If natural evolution is pressing upon those programming pieces as outdated, so perhaps you've let them run for so long and they kind of interject themselves and get in the way of certain things, at some point they're outdated. It's like, we no longer defrag our computers the way we used to. Now I'm dating myself, but way back when, we'd be like, oh, you better defrag your computer, get all the glitches out, align everything up, get rid of everything that doesn't matter, doesn't support anymore. Well, that happens naturally now. So because of that, if we're still carrying programming that hasn't been eliminated in our programs, then you're holding fast on that program in place in your real time where your reality is pushing up against it. So natural evolution is going to press up against that program and almost like realign it or rewrite it somehow, but it'll continually rewrite it with the fear programming intact.
So
it hasn't been eliminated. It just keeps repeating itself, if that makes sense. Just in a slightly evolved way every time, but it's still holding the ceiling down of your potentiality. So as you're growing naturally through evolution, right, or the evolutionary experience of frequency is raising, that fear programming is so low, at some point is going to hold you down, or what feels like down, to experience your highest potential, like in a joyful, peaceful way. So if awakening means having more access to oneself, if something's holding you back from that, which is your own programming, at some point it's going to bust through. It's like, I think I gave you the analogy when we were chatting that if you held, let's just say, a piece of paper, regular paper you put through the printer, if you held that as the ceiling and it kind of held the energetics of everything in as a container, and take your fist, your hand, and put it up against that piece of paper and press upon it with new frequencies going, okay, well, it's time to move this, right? It's time to move this up, time to move this out. You can, at some point, like, not break through it, but move that paper out of the way with your fist. You just move it out of the way, and then you continually evolve in your frequency. You raise. The paper just goes away. So ideally, it's a metaphor for eliminating the program that's in the way. Right? Which is fine. People will wake up to themselves and be like, wow, I feel like I'm waking up. I know something new. Something feels different. I kind of like this. I feel a little more joyful and a little more vulnerable because I don't know everything I thought I knew. New stuff, right? The other side of that spectrum is also true, where if you're holding fast in a state of fear on many, many things, that piece of paper that you're holding in place then becomes maybe a little thicker, like a piece of cardboard, maybe a little thicker. And as you say, your fist is pressing up against it, it becomes that much more pressurized in order to change. Because the natural evolution of frequency raising as we ride the spiral is forcing it to go somewhere. And if you're holding it still, it's going to create a lot of pressure. At some point, it's going to pop. It's like shaking a bottle of, of Pepsi. You're going to shake it. And at some point, that sucker could blow. Or if you poked a hole in it, off it would go. The same thing. So imagine pounding your fist through that piece of paper, which is now thicker. The explosion moment of that occurring is a very fast awakening, where you're going to go from a lower frequency because you've been holding on to it there to a really high frequency really fast, which means you're going to feel both aspects of that at the same time.
Okay.
Which could appear, from my perspective, as manic, because you just can't, your ego mind, the mind that holds on to everything, that thinks it knows everything, just can't understand how you could be both. You could be fear laden and hold on to those programs and be all that is in one moment. And so it appears both at the same time, which is very confusing and it's almost like from a very loving space, a very delusional state of like, I do not know what's going on. And you grasp at the first thing that makes sense. It could be, I can heal everyone. Everything's healing. I know I can do this. And then at the same time, the exact opposite of massive fear could be happening as well, where you're like, why isn't anybody doing this? Why does nobody else know this? I might be the only one who knows how to do this. And that becomes very confusing to the mind.
The Messiah.
Does that make sense?
The Messiah complex. It is. So one thing I want to point out exactly what you're saying right now. Hold on, let me just throw this away. Just one thing I want to say to the community real quick. You have a golden opportunity here, because Wendy usually works with award-winning musicians and business individuals and creators to kind of bring the next level of awareness into fruition. So you guys can prep some questions if you have them, because I think it's a good opportunity to maybe ask some concrete questions you might be confused about that might not be as well designed to answer, because the waters that I swim in are usually a little different. So this is a really good opportunity to ask more of the, I guess, spiritually natured question in a concrete way. So Wendy really specializes in that. No, everything you said makes perfect sense. I guess to me, what always stands out is that there's so much space for confusion here, because people would say things like yes, and then they would agree with everything you said, but then when they're gonna start talking right after, you realize they didn't understand anything you said. So like they would say, yes, exactly, because in order to ascend to the 5th dimension, we have to do this and this and this and this and this. And you're like, were you not listening? just 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 about it's about here. It's about the kingdom of heaven here, right now. Whatever's going to happen in the imagined future, that's going to be the now when it's going to come, and it's going to have the same kind of flavor that you have now if you don't fix it now. If you can't let go of the ideas about the future, about like it gives people these grandiose ideas about, you know, the superpowers that they feel that they've acquired, a special role to play, when in reality everybody are playing basically their role. So it's about collaboration, not about the standing out of any particular individual. And then how do you, I mean, first of all, you know, I guess the simple way of asking it, like if you feel that you're working with someone and they keep going in that circle, maybe it doesn't happen to you, maybe the clients you get, they're already kind of like at a certain level of awareness, so they don't go in too many circles. But how do you just repeat yourself? Like, how do you handle you saying all of that and then people say the thing that just literally you see that they were not listening? Like they're just like, they regurgitate again another spiritual trope, or another thing that they believe about the awakening versus focusing on the moment. Like the thing that I'm usually trying to do with people is to try and take them to something very mundane, which is like, hey, can you sip a cup of tea and really enjoy it? Yes. Okay, well, that's it. Like to me, that's that's it. Like this is it. Like there's fall in love with the mundane. What is your approach there?
So I suppose it depends on what the conversation's around. A lot of the times the questions that I'm receiving are around what's standing in someone else's way. And so I find myself bringing them into themselves deeper, in knowing that they are, what they're after is actually a greater experience of themselves. So know thyself, right? That's lately been my favorite line, because when you have more access to you have access to everything and more. You just get to keep unveiling yourself further. So if someone's asking, well, you know, what are my programs? My first response is always, well, what are you looking at creating? Right? What are you looking at creating? And then we can look at what's in the way of that. That will indicate the programming. From that perspective, then they have a more paused, more centered, grounded response in that way. Because listen, this isn't, for me, it's not like a clairvoyant psychic capacity where I'm reading something, and because all things are available at the same time. So if I'm looking at everything, that doesn't support you. It's where you're headed and where you are right now, and the gap in between that we can address. And then you can choose something different than you might have chosen originally, to have a different experience in your reality, and also have a different response in your reality from the perceived outside, right? So the questions aren't usually around that, because it's not a natural conversation for me to have, like, oh, this is what's happening. I just don't find myself in the space of answering, like having those natural conversations.
So you're saying it's arising from the exact moment in which the question is asked. There are no generalities, because each person has a different kind of perspective, and each one is very individual.
For sure. I mean, the gold is in each individual human. All the gold you could ever want is within you, all of it. And because of that, it's not you have more gold than someone else in you.
Yes, I know.
Everyone has 100% of everything within them. And so from that perspective, when you're looking to create something or understand yourself better, the only distance is from where you stand to where you want to go.
Okay. So yeah, what do you want? And very often people don't know the answer to that question.
Almost always. And not because there isn't things that they would like. that they would like to experience. Most often it's because they've forgotten to ask themselves that question, right? They forgot to consider that, oh yeah, it's me that I'm after. Like it's something that I'm looking to create versus, you know, from a perspective of high performers, which is usually my world, they've already surpassed. So most people here have probably already surpassed their original target, wherever they were, whatever they were looking to do or create or experience. They might have long passed it a long time ago. Some people were like, oh, my dream is, you know, I'll have a family and experience what that feels like. And they might be, you know, their child might be in double digits by now, and they've forgotten that 10 years ago, that was their dream or that was their experience that they wanted to experience, right? For one aspect of your reality. So at that point, there was no further set point where they're going, oh, what else do I want? Right? And there's a million things, and we can go into that too. But one thing for most people is usually what's in the way, something that they're not getting, right? They're not usually saying, oh yeah, well, I'm getting everything I want, Wendy. What are my programs? It's more, I'm not getting this, or I'm not experiencing that, or I'm not feeling it fast enough. What's in the way?
Okay, yeah, that's really good because what happens very often is that I feel that, like you said, people are always limited by the circumstances, so they neglect to ask themselves, if I could do anything, what would that be? Because they say, what's the point of asking that if I know that I have all these limitations in front of me, so I'm going to have to act out of the limitations versus out of this pure place of what I really want, that then would move all the limitations if you just knew what that is. But if you don't know what that is, there's no aim, so there's no actuation in the direction because there's no direction, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, by the way, somebody asked if you can share your social media. Is this something you use for promotion or no? Social media, is that the way, or just your website?
They can connect with me there for sure. Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna post it right here. This is Wendy's. I just posted it in the chat. This is her Instagram. You can reach out. Let's see if people have any particular questions. If not, I have a couple of my own. What do you make of that? Do you feel like
there's people that are asking me to share too, and I was trying to figure out how to reply.
So there you go. I just did. Crazy. Wait. There's a few interesting things here.
Okay.
What's up, Panama City? Good to see you, Mark. Okay, so we're talking about what advice would you give me based off what you have learned about the universe to view my failure to achieve my dreams as a musician? Oh, right on your path.
Oh.
I've passed my own expectations regarding career, but not in music. So what is your career, by the way, AJ? And then Wendy, take it away.
Yeah, I'm just looking for if I can find that question.
It's right towards the end. It's by AJ Watts Music. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 messages from the bottom.
Oh yes, I see it. Awesome. Yeah, so funny that you asked that, right? Because I mentor the high-level musicians inside of Billboard 500 Club, which is really spectacular space because I'm working alongside Grammy winners, so I know exactly the space you're leaning into. What would be in your way? What advice would I give you based on where you're headed as a musician? Let me see, I've passed my own expectations regarding career, but not in music. So my few questions for you would be, what exactly are you looking to experience with your music? Right? Because there's everything from just being able to create music for yourself and put it up maybe, for yourself as an MP3, or do you want to tour and have albums out there and collaborate, right? There's a run the gamut. So I would ask more specificity around that. And then the next question would be, is that something that you have always dreamt of, that you want to do like full time, that you want that to be your reality, that you want to step into it and just really see where it can take you? Because sometimes what I'm kind of experiencing just with that question is that that's what you say that you want, but you haven't fully chosen it. And that's why you're not experiencing it, right? There's one thing to say, oh yeah, well, that's what I want. And there's another to fully embody that question, be like, I'm having that because there's no other thing that I could see myself experiencing except for that, right? So there's two different things there. if you haven't chosen it fully, it's a full body thing. It's not just a mind thing. So I would invite the question for you to, where from your body are you asking that question? Like, is your mind asking it, or is the soul of you asking it on the sheer desire and craving to experience a high level musical achievement, or even life for that matter? That's where I would go with that. And then you would move on from there. I mean, there's 1,000,001 like program pieces that could be in the way that prevents one from stepping truly into that. Because let me tell you, when you're super talented, which I imagine you are, AJ, the difference is, is your nervous system really, really ready to like put your music out there and land all of a sudden on the stage in front of millions of people? You probably go, like, well, okay, when you put it like that, no, right? Not yet. And that could be the thing that's just holding you in the pause mode. So there's many things that it could be. I mean, it's a really fun place to play. And music, it is really soul driven. So my invitation would be go for it, whatever it is.
It has to be. AJ responded. He said, "A small following would make me happy. Appreciation mainly. My circumstances left me no option." Oh, interesting. But to go fend for myself financially, I make really good money, but it's not fulfilling at all. Like,
yeah,
so
right.
so I guess it is this classical case, right? So when you say, and again, Wendy can of course fill in a much wider blank, but even from just me interacting with Wendy back and forth about this stuff about my own life, I can tell you that part of the answer would be around the belief you have, the program you're running that says my circumstances left me no option, right? Would that be one thing to look at, Wendy? Which is that there's a belief that there's no option and there's circumstances that control these options.
Yeah. So knowing thyself is knowing that the options are within you for you to choose. And when you place that power in someone else's hands, that's where there's a disconnect from what you want to having it, because you're letting your external circumstances be the dictator of it, because you're choosing it, not because the circumstances aren't happening, but because there's choices you are making that are leading into serving something that's aligned with the outside circumstances. And often I find those outside circumstances are the catalyst to have what you want, because you're like, okay, you know what? Despite that, I'm having it anyway. And in fact, I'm going to utilize that as fuel to get what I want, to get where I want, to experience what I want in my reality. Right?
And I want to add oh, sorry, continue. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's being the classic like rags to riches story. Right? So, I didn't have it, and so thereby I'm going to, and there is nothing on God's green earth that's going to stop me.
And so that's exactly what I want to point out, just to make it a little bit more palatable. If the circumstances that brought you here were, let's say, dire, because nobody knows anybody else is suffering, right? Yeah. But I have to say that in my own experience, it has to do with the clarity you have about the ultimate vision, or the central thing that you believe is what your soul desires. Because even it's possible that the circumstances you found yourself in really did require you at the time to come up with a financial answer to what you needed, and there might have been a reality that you had to contend with. And maybe that was even the right thing. Like some people would just not even take responsibility, right? And you just did it. But then the question becomes, did that then devour your dream, your real dream? Like, did that then become a replacement for the dream versus another stepping stone on the way to the dream? Because if you now made the money and you have the capacity, well, now you can put off some of the foot off the gas of the needing to make that much money. Now that you make really good money, you put some aside, you allocate a little bit more time a month to put more towards that actual dream of becoming more of a more recognized musician, towards the recognition, towards the feeling that you're connecting with people through your music. And if it is the correct moment in time for you, I bet you the universe will remove all the obstacles for you to do it more and more and more and more. And then you can let go let go more and more of this thing that you believed you needed for the money, and all of a sudden more of it will come from here. And both of them are legitimate, but it's just you can remove some of the gas from here and push some more gas here, and you can keep playing it. So don't forget what was the actual vision. If you believe that the music will come as some luck or the result of some external circumstances, it will be a lot more difficult, which I think is what Wendy is pointing out. As long as you have the vision and the clarity of mind and connection emotionally to the goal, it will reveal itself. So it's like you have to make the commitment, right? And then there's a response. There's an actuation from the world that gives you the opportunities to go forth with that thing. And of course, it will also fail, and then you try again. And so, but at least it's almost like the universe is testing whether you really want it. But it's not going to test you to an ultimate degree where it's just going to make you fail and fail and fail. There's always going to be like moments where like, there it is. Okay, interesting. It gave you like a little bit of a nick and cranny, like to just put your hand in and be able to climb a little higher. And you have to look for those, but they have to be aligned with your inner state and the ability to discern when is the right moment to move forward. Because if it was complete, lack, so acting out of that place, it's not really very conducive to progress. So now that you've acquired the at least the financial stability that you felt that you needed, okay, now allow this other thing to step in. Don't let this become the main thing. It was just another step along the way. Don't forget where you were going, basically.
Yeah, and what was coming up while you were saying that, Danny, is my my thought would be to AJ, what makes you think that now isn't the time and hasn't always been? Right? What if you're looking at your reality up until now and missing the point that there is everything that you required in order to become who you know yourself to be in that journey, thereby validating every single thing you've done, every decision you've made, every choice you've experienced. It's led you exactly where you are right now to look and go, actually, I do. And I think, Danny, we're saying very close to the same thing. Like, I have absolutely everything I require in order to experience what I'm after.
Exactly. But now it's the guts of like, oh, but now I'm stable. Why should I unstabilize it again? That's usually the thought that people have. But it's not so much about unstabilizing. It is using the stability of this to help bring forth this other thing that was actually the real dream. Because the second that you start getting reciprocation on a cosmic level through the thing that you believe you were brought here to be, then there's a whole new level of energy that arises from it that is truly unstoppable. So just, AJ, you're saying 32. When I was 35, I think, maybe 34, 35, so older than you, I also was making really good money, living in a really nice neighborhood, making quite a bit of money. But I was very unhappy, very unhappy. I had a lot of health issues. I had sciatica. I had, morphine prescribed to me because of the amount of pain that I sometimes was suffering. And something happened, and that's radical. It's not like I recommend this to anyone. I didn't have a family. I didn't have kids. So I could do it, but I literally, my body did it automatically. I just threw away everything I owned. Like I put it in the trash, like all of it. Not metaphorically. I drove to the landfill and threw away everything I owned. We're actually going to have this in the film as well because I shot the whole thing. So that it's not like it resolved all my problems, but it created a separation between what I was doing before and what I was doing from that point on. It's almost like it was a full commitment. But that's radical. I needed that because I knew that whatever my psychology is, it's very extreme. So I wouldn't be able to kind of do this healthy thing that I'm telling you, right? Like put a little bit more gas here, remove, like I couldn't do it. My brain just doesn't work like that. It's either all in or nothing, right? That's just how my brain works. But if you have kids, you have a family, that's not a viable option, but it doesn't have to be. It just shows you that there is a gradation that you can play with. I asked Zoltan recently, I was visiting him, and I asked him about success in general. And he was very successful in so many different things, right? Becoming one of the biggest rock stars in the world, very successful businessman, made millions of dollars, black belts in 2 different martial arts, silver medalist, like everything he touched, graphic design, he succeeds in. And so I asked him about success in general. And he said, well, it's actually relatively simple. I just don't know why so many people fail at it. He said that if you're going to the supermarket, you know you're going to the supermarket, right? I said, yeah. I said, okay, well, sometimes a friend would call you and say, hey, I need some help. I have a flat tire, whatever. Can you come help me? They're like, sure, no problem. So I go and I help him. But at no point do I forget I was going to the supermarket. So when I'm done, I'm just going to keep going to the supermarket. And he says, but I see it on everything. Like if I said I'm going to be a rock star, that's my supermarket. Doesn't matter what happens in the way, I'm going to the supermarket. And staying on that, and I'm a little surprised that he said, I don't know why so many people fail at that. I mean, it's obvious how so many people fail at that because it's kind of hard to just keep that in your mind and constantly, right? But it actually connects to something that you told me before, where you and I had a back and forth, which it sounds like it's also a mystery to you, Wendy, because you said you either fully commit or you don't. And I said, well, hold on. You can commit and kind of forget you committed. That also happens. And then you said, but then you didn't really fully commit. And I hear what you're saying, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying, that like, no, it's understandable what people will kind of, kind of forget that they made the commitment. But I also hear what you're saying, that if you didn't fully commit in your body, that's the fact that you didn't fully commit. If you fully commit in your body, you're always going to remember you're going to the supermarket or whatever your supermarket is. Was that about what you meant by that?
Yeah, and I don't know that I would use the word commit. I would use choose, but it's really the same thing. If you're choosing it, it's a full body choice. So we're saying the same thing, just using two different words for it, because it's commit has a leaning in. Commit. What does it has? There's more to it. There's a couple of other frequencies that are kind of embodied within that word commit. So I guess it would be choosing and committing to it, because you can choose it, I suppose, and not do anything. But and I love that you're saying the word commit, because when I'm feeling into the programming of the word choosing, you can choose it and be in the reality of it, but not put the action of one foot in front of the other, which would activate and basically actualize the thing that you're committing to, the thing that you're choosing. So there are some elements to that for sure. And some people would call it manifestation. And that's where I get confused why, like, I know, well, let's say from my perspective, I suppose I know, but I'm not a fan of the word manifest because of what my understanding of manifest means. To me, it means, it's that piece of paper where what you're after is written upon. So it's the ask. Okay, you're going to say you order something online. They print out your order as a manifest and then have someone fulfill the manifest and put it in the box and then ship it to you. The fact that there's a manifest does not mean you're getting it. It means that there's a manifest. You've made a request. So for me, there's a step further beyond that, which is called actualization, meaning you actually are experiencing it in your world. You haven't just made the ask and manifested, basically put it onto the list of things that you want and driven your thoughts and your energy towards it. It's not just sitting there. You're actualizing it, meaning you're following the nudges that are within you, your soul's desire, all those things, in order to experience what it is that you have on your manifest, on that, on that list of things that you would like. Then you experiencing it, it actually comes into your world. So the word actually kind of feeds right into the actualization. So that's where I would look at the choosing of it, and like you'd say, the commitment. Those two words go together. The commitment to me, as you're saying it, would be the actions towards it. And Zoltan would say the same thing about the action is, yeah, I'll stop and support a friend, and I'm right back on the track. Like I'm there. That is the actionable piece of actualization.
So then in action, because I do know what it feels like to, let's say, running some programs of depression or things like this. And that's very often overlooked when we're talking about the macro. In the micro, in the moment, sometimes it's, if you are ridden with these, different programs that are of depression, of sadness, of abandonment, all the traumas, right? They can absolutely kind of, it really feels like it holds you back from even wanting to get back on the track, because some people need a lot of crank it up like every single day. And that's very different than people just wake up driven. So what do you do now, given because you're working with high performers, you see a lot less people that maybe suffer from these things on a regular basis. But if we want to expand the horizon, what is there is there something there that you can do with people that can help them kind of like remove this thing from
Well,
there?
yeah. When you're saying that, yeah, I'm looking into what's coming more clear really is that those experiences of, say, depression or anxiety or things of that nature, there are symptoms, I wouldn't want to say, of misaligned programming, where the programming is not actually supporting you. It's getting in the way of it, and there's so much of it that it is causing such a, not maybe like a disconnection to self so fully that it just leaves nowhere else to go, right? It just hangs in the balance where it feels empty and it feels outside of you and it feels low and dark and like blank from that perspective, because there's so many misaligned programs that you kind of hang in that space. That's my perception of those experiences. So when like, I bring it back around to knowing thyself. When you know thyself, it's really tough to fall into those spaces of depression and anxiety, because you're not confused in that way. You don't have the space of tons of misaligned programming. You know who you are, and you get to become unapologetically you. And from that space, everything opens up with a different light. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it has something to do. I would just look for the exact quote because I forgot the exact wording of it. But I think it's very applicable here. It says most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. To that comment that AJ just made with maybe there is still time. There's a lot of great people that I'm sure you're familiar with Eckhart Tolle, right? Well, he had his first like actual, when he like had the mental breakdown and then woke him up and then he started sitting on park benches. He was 32, exactly your age. It was 32, 33. That and now he's one of the most known people in the world. So when you're just starting with something, to speak to like these negative small emotions that are actually just paper thin, but they're trying to convince you that they're oceans deep, but they're not. And I'm speaking from experience. It's just taking a few actions through that pain and then seeing that when you do, all of a sudden things do happen. Then you realize, oh, this is paper thin. This just barely exists. So then what is meant by you overestimate what you can do in a year because you pile up all these things, and then when you don't succeed in doing all of these things, you're like, oh, then it's not worth it. It's like, well, no, you did quite a bit. It's just that that's too much for a year. You overestimated for a year. But if you keep doing it in the space for a decade, it will blow your mind where you're going to be in a decade. So when you're going to be my age, when you're going to be 42, you might be the biggest superstar in the world, but you got to work on it every single day. And it doesn't have to be with the crazy high octane that you believe it needs to, whenever they show it in a movie, it's always just a compilation of the most important moments in the journey of a star. But that's not the majority of their life. They still go to the bathroom. They still do everything normal. They wake up in the morning groggy. Like all of this happens still, right? Most of it is not glorious. So if you realize that if you just put in some work every day, even if it's just a little bit, if you do this for a decade nonstop, there's no way that you're not going to be exactly where you want it to be with your biggest dreams. But that's what is meant by you underestimate what can happen in a year if you keep going in the pace that in 1 year looks slow to you, but there's compounding. It actually compounds on one another. What do you want to say, Wendy?
Yeah, it's like, I love that you're saying that, and things can happen so quickly it's not even funny. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could put some targets on it, but when you fully choose in, it's like sliding down a water slide that never ends. It's just the level of excitement will carry you faster forward and accelerate your experience when you align yourself with excitement with what you're choosing. So it doesn't, this is one of the lessons and the things I bring and have conversations with my musicians in the club is the concept of comparisonitis. If you have comparisonitis, that means that you're comparing yourself at 32 to everyone else who has actually done something that you deem significant in the music industry. And that is absolutely not relevant at all. Not, and I'm saying that from a very loving space. It does not matter what anybody else has done, because what matters is you, what you're choosing to do. You're going to get exactly where you want to go when you decide you will. Like, not the time frame, probably faster, but it's your choosing to be like, you know what? I'm going to have the most fun loving up on myself and my talents and my soul's desires in this reality that I ever can. And you'd be shocked at the amount of opportunities that are going to come your way, the collaborations, the people you're going to meet, the creativity that's going to flow through you that is unstoppable. You can barely sleep. I've seen it. I've been there, like I've done it, I've experienced it, and I support it in other, and basically busted open in other musicians, because comparisonitis is real. It means you're taking something that you set as something you would like to experience and comparing it to everyone around you that you know of that has achieved it, whether it's before you or, faster or better or bigger, when none of that really matters. For them, it could have been, the strangest, worst experience that they had, and you're creating a scenario where that's the best experience you're comparing yourself to, right? So that's where a mass amount of grace comes in, where you look at your reality and go, I'm living this. No one else. I'm living it. And because of that, I'm going to choose to lean into what brings the most joy to me so that I can have the most fun with the time that I have, that I'm aware of on this planet. And that in itself will drive the bus down this timeline that you're after, right? A lot of those crappy programs that get in the way could disappear when you allow yourself to be and choose that. So much fun.
And even in one more thing to add, and by the way, now that we have more people, I do want to mention again, if you guys want to follow us on Twitch, it's LaserX83, LaserX83. And also come join our Discord community. You can find the link both on YouTube and on TikTok. Come join our wonderful community on Discord. So one thing to add to what you just said, Wendy, is that also the universe is, if you're moving in your quote unquote right soul direction, the universe will literally show you that that is the right direction. It's not going to grind you down. So like, if you make the move, don't think about it. Like, make the move, right? Like, reach out to this artist that you never thought would ever answer you, and ask them if they want to, maybe need help with something, or maybe you can collaborate with them, or something, some move that you were considering for a long time, releasing a song you're really afraid to release, whatever it is, just do it. See what happens. Usually, if it's the right direction for you, something will happen that was extremely unexpected and way beyond your wildest dreams. Now, this does not mean that the next day you're going to be a huge success, but if something like this happens, it is definitely proof positive for you that the universe goes, yes. Okay, so when you press this button, definitely big things will happen. Okay, now work on it. But it's literally telling you, yes, this is it. So do one thing in that direction and see if some surprising things happen. It almost invariably does, from my experience with these things. And not necessarily just with music, just like with anything you possibly imagine.
The cool thing.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the cool thing is, my perception is the reflective perception of your reality being your monitor. So if all your internal programs are reflective in your external reality that you can see and that you can experience, those times when you have a moment where you have a lower frequency emotional response, what that is an indicator of an out of line program. Meaning you're running a program that's not serving or supporting what your soul is after, what you're desiring, and it's showing up to, like, raising its hand going, yeah, I'm not aligned. There's something in here not aligned. It doesn't mean it's not possible. It means that whatever that thing is that's showing up, evoking the lower frequency emotion, is what gets to be, like, transformed, right? Understood differently, so that the pathway no longer carries that resistance. And that's what creates the level of speed that most people are after. That creates a clarity that didn't exist, like while that cloudiness was in there, while that program was creating a lower frequency emotion. Because if you're feeling, let's say, what would you feel if you couldn't get where you're going? You might have felt disheartened, right? The things that you've been trying is just not working, and you might not have set a very far target as to when to experience it. But if it's not happening, you're going to start feeling lower and lower and lower. Like, why isn't it happening? I thought it would have happened by now. How come it's not happening? And all that is a reflection of a program that's slowing what you want to experience down, right? It's that distracted point where now you're focused on why it's not happening versus the excitement of when it will happen. And then you get to look back and be like, you're not going to believe all the steps that I took in order to get here. It feels like nothing.
When you look back,
Right?
yes.
So fast. Yeah.
And what I would say is that everybody's process is different. And to me, one of the things that, so actually one of the reasons I started this live is because I needed something measurable that I can do physically that shows me that I showed up every day for something. So one of the things that part of what I do has to do with communication and real-time communication.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I knew that engaging every day with people, no matter how small the group was in the beginning, like the beginning I had like 2-3 people every day and that's it. And it was something that, but I knew that as long as I do that, I showed myself that I showed up for at least a portion of that larger thing that I'm doing. And something, I believe that something would happen beyond what was already at work. So for a musician, it can be maybe you sit down every day, kids, no kids, work, no work, doesn't matter. If you have to do it after everybody went to sleep, if you have an opportunity to do so, I don't know if your studio is at a different place or in the back, in the backyard, but do something musically, creatively for 30 minutes a day, no matter what. Like makes no difference. Like even if everything is falling apart, you took care of everything you had to take care of that day, 30 minutes, you sit down, you create. And it doesn't matter what you have that came to fruition from that, but you sat down and you played with it. You riffed, you did something. Showing up for something every single day might be one of those things. And maybe you're already doing that, I'm not sure. But for me, that, for example, really works because it shows me I am doing at least that one little thing on my way to the thing. And I agree with Wendy that with the second you start moving, usually these things can actually unfold a lot quicker than you even realize. But you first have to show the commitment. Lao Tzu famously said, I think it was Confucius, but put your foot and the road will appear, right? But you have to first make the first step. Might have been Rumi. I'm forgetting my philosophers, but in any case, I think it was Rumi. So let's see. I think he said something else here that was relevant.
And there's something to be said for consistency, because it's not necessarily that you have to show up every day. It's the act of showing up for other people that makes it work. It's for you. You're then holding the frequency of what you really want all the time, every day. So if you look at it from the perspective of, if I went 3 days without doing the thing I wanted to do, did I even think about it? Was it even in my awareness? Did I even allow myself to experience, even just by thinking about that thing in my world? So the consistency has a lot to do with the internal aspect of, well, I guess you would say the commitment to yourself, to what you want, right? That choosing of it is in the moment that you choose to consider it. Think about it. Maybe you reach out and connect with another musician and create a jam session. Maybe you think, you know what, let's get together and jam. And then you go, while you're jamming, you're like, this is pretty awesome. Maybe we write a song together. You just don't know what happens when you consistently allow what you're after to permeate your world on a very regular basis. The frequency becomes alive. And that is what calls in more of that frequency.
But he's saying, so actually AJ is saying, I used my successful job to build my own home studio and felt like a fraud. Huh?
Ooh, yeah.
Hence this next wave of soul searching for a musical career. Is that what you mean? I'm not sure what you mean by, or maybe I know you're limited by characters here, so I understand. But you said, I used my successful job to build my own home studio. So I go, yes. And then you go, and felt like a fraud. Do you just mean to say and still felt like a fraud? Is that what you mean to say? Because if so, then there is some kind of a deeper programming happening here that I assure you has nothing to do with external circumstances.
Yeah.
The-
Yeah, well, it's like getting notoriety without having a whole roster of #1 hits, right? You're thinking, well, how do I get this notoriety without having all these hits? It doesn't make sense. So yeah, you didn't deserve it, but you worked your little fanny off for most of the years of your life, not doing the thing that you love. And now, at your own discretion, AJ can create music anytime you want without having to pay thousands of dollars to a studio where you have to attend at their convenience, at their schedule, right? So you've created the opportunity to do 24/7 music whenever you want to. And that's the price you paid by working most of your life on something other than your dream.
So not to make this into a not to make this into a full infomercial, but just so you know that actually the way that I know Wendy, because Wendy works with a group that a good friend of mine, Adam McInnes, started, and basically his company, literally what they do is they take musicians and they teach them how to do everything that a super successful Grammy Award winning musician needs to get to that level, including understanding the market, producing the right thing for the market right now, understanding what works and what doesn't work, without signing anything or needing to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for being involved with larger labels or other musicians. Literally giving you the tools to do everything yourself, because actually it's just a matter of putting the right emphasis at the right time. And their whole thing is very much around that, which is bringing people, especially people that are already involved in music on a certain level, to understand what is this thing that is missing. Sometimes it's just the way the riffs are being written. They just don't work for the current zeitgeist, like the way that the market wants to perceive it currently. So maybe you have great ideas, but if they don't land exactly on what the market wants right now, it's just not going to work. And all you need is one or two of those, and you're up there. That's it. That's all you need. And again, I know I'm telling you things but that's their main thing. So I actually think that if you reach out to Wendy on Instagram, having a good clarifying conversation might actually be a good thing. Because that's what Wendy does. She works with the musicians that Adam works with, and I'm sure that Wendy can also give you a lot more information about what they do with their organization. Is that
so be perfect person for that, most certainly.
Yeah. But I would definitely look at, again, I'm sure that on some level you understand this, but if that's what you meant when you said, and I still feel like a fraud, well, that the feeling like a fraud has something to do with some trauma that has nothing to do with anything else but something that happened to you when you were younger, for sure. Like this is something that, like, this is just across the board for all of us. Like all humans have a version of that. So you're not alone in this. We all have a version of that where there's some feeling of inadequacy in some form for everybody because of whatever that we were told when we were kids. It's very rare that people have nothing, right? But it's different degrees. Some people have it and it's kind of almost not there. For other people, it's debilitating. Because they believe that. Yeah, go ahead, Wendy.
No, I was going to say I can speak directly to the programming around that. When you have an imposter syndrome, it's because at some point in your reality, somebody said to you, "Who do you think you are?" Having that, what do you think you are saying that? Like it's usually someone in your world who said something like that to you, where you considered what they were saying could be true because they were saying it. So when I speak about the programming in your mind, that's running. What happens is when you buy programming, and I'm air quoting the word buy, it's like you're shopping and you buy something, right? Now it's yours. When someone says something about you, when you aren't sure if it's true or not true, you may entertain the idea that it is. In which case, the second you invite that in, and I liken that to buying it, you then buy that programming and it runs in your field of energy. When it's running, your reality is then colored by that programming saying, well, who do you think you are? And how you'll know is because you'll spend most of your life trying not to be that thing. That's how you know it's out of alignment. And also, when you see somebody who is actually being that, it will irritate the crap out of you. Like it'll literally evoke some irritating experiences, because you're thinking, well, who the hell do they think they are? They don't even have XYZ, right? You'll spot an imposter and it'll irritate you. And then if someone calls you that, you'll feel really awful about it. And you'll spend most of your time trying to articulate that you are not that, without anyone saying anything ever, just like you dropped in the chat. That's how you know that you're running an imposter syndrome program. And in order to address it, it's right now acknowledging that that's what's happening. So take yourself, and this is for everyone, pick anything that fits the bill of that. It doesn't have to just be imposter syndrome. Insert anything. Not good enough, judgmental, like all of the big things, stick them in there, because everything works in this scenario. Acknowledge that by separating yourself just slightly in your mind from the programming itself, right? When you identify with something, you're literally putting on that suit and wearing it like, yeah, this is me, right? You're wearing it all the time. I'm going to tell everybody that's who I am. But you can take the suit off. And that's where we don't realize that we have so much power. You can separate yourself just slightly from that program and realize it is simply a program. In which case, there are many ways to eliminate that program, and it's unique to every single one of us. It's unique with me as well, and I do that with others, but everyone has the capacity to do it. Take it and look at it like a program itself, and however your beautiful mind decides to delete it, then do that. Whatever, if it's pressing a certain note loudly on a guitar, whatever it might be, if it doesn't matter. It's painted a color and eliminate it. Make it a flame and make a raindrop fall on it and put it out. It doesn't matter. Whatever your beautiful mind designs, that will be the way that you will eliminate that programming. But make sure when you do that, you walk all the way through to the end and see it out. If it's a flame, it's out all the way, right? If it's a color, it's completely changed to something else. Whatever it is, ensure for your own reasons that it is completely gone and it is now something else. When you do that, what occurs in your field of energy for that program is it no longer exists as it once had. And when that occurs, then your reality is going to show up to match the first, to match your new experience of that program. It will be different. It will be changed, right? And you can even go in your mind and try to find where that old program evoked a lower frequency emotion. So in this case, if it were imposter syndrome, you can go back in and go, well, is that still there? Like, can I actually find it with my mind and still feel the same feelings I was feeling? If you cannot, you nailed it, right? Use whatever that is over and over again on the things that don't work for you as far as programming goes. If you didn't, then there's a couple of nuanced things. And I mean, I'm sure I could share everything with you today, but just know that you can eliminate the program that's in the way. Imposter syndrome is simply a program, as are all the other things that cause you to feel awful about yourself or anyone else. That's programming also. It could be you that you feel awful about, or it could be someone else or their experience or a scenario or something bigger in the world, politics, the globe, what's happening in other countries. It's everywhere. The same is also true. What you're seeing is going to evoke programming that either you're like, okay, I'm neutral and I understand and I'm compassionate, or that's a hell no and I don't like the way this feels, right? Only you can address that because it's your experience in this now. And I hope that was supportive, the way I described it.
I think,
but that's...
Yeah, continue. No, go ahead. I won't forget.
I was going to say that's the core. If most people can grasp that, that is the biggest gift I can ever give you, is being able to identify programs and find your way, your beautiful, unique way of eliminating them. It is the easiest thing once you've discovered it, and the most powerful thing once you practice it.
And one thing I want to add about the specific thing you said, AJ. So I think that everything you said is exactly right. You can just kind of, you find a way to eliminate this programming, but in the way to eliminating it, even when you have these small moments with yourself where when you're saying, well, you didn't deserve whatever equipment you bought, or I see, he basically said like he spent a lot of money on the studio and then like, why did I do that? I could have spent something nice on my family. Well, This is actually real. This is a very common, like, when there's these feelings of inadequacy. This program, one of the pressure points it uses all the time, identifying those can also be helpful. So one of the pressure points it always uses is like, oh, look at this thing you're doing that makes you so selfish, or makes you so small, or makes you so bad in comparison to others. And then that's the pressure point it puts to make you feel not good. So you produce more of this negative emotion that it can basically thrive on, that it thrives with this negative emotion. But the reality of it is all humans need some form of balance, right? So if you only care about others, guess what's going to happen at the end? There's a part of you that needs acknowledgement. And even if you don't realize it, that part eventually starts rebelling. It's like, hey, I'm also a person. Even if you're ignoring it, it will tell you, no, I'm also a person inside of you. And then it will start sabotaging everything you're doing. Because it's like, hey, like, just like you care about others, you should also care about yourself. In the plane, they always tell you, put your oxygen mask first before you help others. Well, if you don't feed the minimal, or like the part of your soul that makes you thrive as a human, what you present to your loved ones, the thing that your loved ones can benefit from the most, is the version of you that they can really enjoy. If you're always miserable because you're always hiding negative emotions about yourself, even if they don't realize where it's coming from, it doesn't feel as good as having the you around that is always fulfilled and happy and thriving. There's nothing more fulfilling than being around a person who's deeply fulfilled. So, if you bought the studio to make magic with, so it makes you feel like you're fulfilling the mission that you're here to do, and it makes you enjoy your life more and being a human, every single instance you spend it with your family and your kids and your wife are more enjoyable for them, way more than some gift you would get them with whatever amount of money.
Yeah.
There's no question about that, because that's the majority of the time that you're spending with them. So if you just bought the thing and now you're spending time feeling bad about it, instead of creating music in it, you see how it just keeps spinning. Like, no matter what you're gonna do, you're gonna make a hit album, and then somebody's gonna come from the outside and tell you, yeah, but you're not as good as this artist. And you'd be like, oh, that's right, I am not. I'm not as good as that artist. Here we go again. And as they say, new levels, new devils. The higher you go, there's going to be more and more pressure on that. So if you can't handle this portion now, imagine how it's going to feel if you're a megastar.
Yeah.
You're going to that's how people collapse, right? So you have to.
It emanates out too, Danny. It's not just even with the family. Can you imagine when you include your family in music? When you teach your children that they can address their emotions through music, and so instead of leaning into drugs or something else, they lean into, you know what, I'm picking up my guitar, or I'm going to sit at the piano and I'm going to play my emotions out so we can get them out of my body. And oh, look at that, I wrote a song. Literally turning negative emotions into positive ones. Teaching children that that's how easy it is for them to express themselves, versus feeling like they need to go, like, pressurize themselves in and hide from and eliminate the reality from themselves, right? To not experience it anymore. They're not going to hide from it. They're actually going to express it. All the musicians that I know, that I support, they take the real-time energetics of their emotions and put it into powerful music. It's the same with you. If you're including your family, it's even more fun. You can write music together. You can write songs together. You can take ideas from your family and say, you know what? I'm going to go write a song. Okay, so everybody give me one word that has to do with love, and I'm going to go write a song about it. Then when you write that song, you bring that back to your family and you share with them themselves. They gifted you. There's so many ways in which you're going to gift your family more joy and appreciation of themselves via you, when you choose what you really want to do. And this goes for everyone, right? It's not just AJ in music. It's everyone and everything. When you're doing what you love, you incorporate yourself into your reality in every aspect, instead of trying to separate yourself and think, okay, I got to go to this dumbass job that I don't like at all, and it sucks there, and I have that energy of like not wanting to be here. And then I come home, I bring that energy home with me. It takes most of the night to recalibrate yourself. And then by the time that happens, you're going to bed. So you're having to really energetically battle yourself into who you really are, because you spend a lot of your time doing something that you really don't enjoy doing. It's not aligned. So when you excuse me, allow yourself to be joyful no matter what that is. The judgment that you may get is only from you. You're the only one that's going to judge you about anything that you choose. So if you're going to judge you on the high side. Like, yeah, baby, I'm doing what I love, and I am not going to say sorry about it. I'm going to do more of it because I know when I'm joyful, the people in my world get to experience that too. I mean, there's so much goodness in honoring yourself. And listen, if you call it selfish, good. Be selfish for the unconditional love that you can be, because others will feel it too. And goodness gracious, that's, most people get to have that. That's what we all are after, right? Who doesn't want a little more unconditional love?
Yeah, and the more we're willing to give it to ourselves, the more we get it from the environment. There's no question about that, because you basically you're communicating you deserve it. That to me is pretty clear. I have to admit that when you presented the question to me of what is it that you actually want to achieve through what you're doing, that wasn't very clear to me. Like, I wasn't very clear on with myself. But I think as I moved through that, I realized that the answer might not take the shape that I expected it to have, because the question implied to me some kind of an outcome or a result, when in reality, what I guess the real thing that what I'm aiming for is just more harmony. So whatever it is that I'm doing, I want to bring more harmony to myself and others through it. And it doesn't have to be a result; it's just the outcome of how it's done. And now, obviously, I fail, and then but that's the thing at the center of what I want to experience more. What I want to experience more harmony. I want things to be more harmonious. So sometimes the answer are not as clear as what they might have been if we would be paying more attention. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, I want to be famous, or I want to be a rock star, or it can also be, I want to experience more of this feeling through creating music, and right now I don't know how to experience this feeling. Because I'm sure as a musician, when you get into the flow and something amazing comes through, well, that feels amazing. Well, maybe I just want to do more of that, and everything else I'm just kind of making it up for myself, because I feel like it's bad to want that. Like, why would I only want that one feeling? It feels so, I don't know, superficial maybe, or something. And it's like, so you're telling yourself, I'm not supposed to want that, but that's the thing you really wanted. So just admit that that's what you wanted. You just wanted that feeling. If you connect to that feeling, all of a sudden everything else comes, the fame and the stuff and the music, just because you connected to that one thing you really wanted, and now you admitted you wanted it. Another thing that Zoltan told me that's about the music industry is like, well, sometimes it's all about concentric circles and packaging. So sometimes I would have a riff, just one riff, that I know it's like a really good hook. Like it's a very strong riff, right? But I can't sell a riff. So now I have to think, how am I going to put it in a song? So now I have to write a song. I have to package it in a song. Okay. Now, how do I put it in an album? How do I put it in a show? But really, all I wanted to do is to play that riff. And admitting that might actually free you, because there's really no rules. The rules are made up by the assumptions you make about what's right or wrong. So if you eliminate those, you might actually flow in a much easier pace, especially as a musician. I know it's like it's a key thing. I'm not a musician, but I've been surrounded by a lot of them, and I am noticing the musicians think in higher dimensional form, because there's some interaction there with meaning directly that not most people never experience. Is there something that tracks your experience working with musicians as well?
Yeah, well, because they're pulling through sounds that are put together that aren't often heard in the way that they're assembling them. They may be close. I mean, they say that music is repeatable stuff because they're pulling from all over the place. And there's a unique frequency when it comes through an individual, right? So I could write a song and you could take the same notes and you could write something with it, and it's going to sound similar, but it's going to feel different. So they're pulling from a deep space feeling within themselves in order to create, where they shut down the ego brain in order to access it. So I think I saw someone ask the question. I think it was Jay. With the dialing into the etheric radio frequency that a lot of musicians talk about.
I don't know anything about that. Yeah, you know, I'm talking. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do actually, and that is where you allow yourself to access the potentiality and the energetics within oneself to connect to that space and then channel music through. It becomes you learn to trust it. Let's just put it that way. As soon as you tap into it, that's how musicians keep leaning back into it, because they've done it once. They're like, oh my God, that was awesome. I'm going back in, and they get more, and they trust it once it's proven itself to them successful, because everybody has a judgmental, perception of what it is, but only you can know it. You're the labeler of that experience. So my invitation to you would be, Jay, just to allow yourself to sit in a space where you're distraction free, like literally distraction free, and then just sit for the longest period of time and let your mind run blank, and then start playing, start writing, start accessing aspects of yourself where you're like, it's like when one would free write or automatic write, you let the energy come through, speak through you in writing. It's the same perspective for music when you're tapping into an etheric place, that music exists and you want to tap into it, right? It's one thing to want it, that creates a barrier, but it's another thing to allow yourself to be into it. A lot of times they do it from dreaming. I don't know, Jay, if you're familiar with a lot of musicians who dream music. So they dream about the music, they get the notes down, they hear it, and then they wake up and are able to write it. It's quite interesting and fascinating, but it's how my perspective of that is when you're dreaming it, it's because it's the one space where your ego mind is not interfering. And so it's very easy to pull through.
So would you say that what musicians describe there is different than flow that people enter in other domains, in like athletes, people who are like very successful in different business models? Like, do you feel it's a different flow than what you're describing right now, or it's like a different channel of the flow, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I think with music particularly, there's music that people are pulling from an etheric realm it feels like it's already written, but the truth is it's written by you. Like it's something made just for you, because you're the only one who's going to hear it just like that. So yes, right? A flow is an experience that you're having consciously in this reality. The etheric music is where, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, you're pulling it through, that it feels like it's already been written and you're just kind of bringing it in, and then not copying it, but popping it, like taking what you heard and then bringing it to the world.
Yeah, I feel like it's manifesting through you. So like it might exist as a potential in this infinite space, but in order to bring it to fruition, you're required you are the instrument through which it comes through.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And this is something very interesting, because I do hear this from different musicians. They have a different take on this, right? There's the kind of like the Rick Rubin point of view, which is like, I'm not really creating it for you, I'm creating it for me and for God, and the hell with everything else. It's like, I like it, God likes it, the rest I don't care. Like, that's kind of the attitude, right? And then there's this other seeming other point of view, which musicians would say, I've heard this from a few musicians, usually the more successful ones. They kind of say, pretending like, because I saw some comments about here trying to get famous. I agree that it's usually a very, there's a limited space in how many people can become ultra famous, sure, but you can be pretty known or appreciated for your music. I guess that you can also categorize it as famous, right? So there's the seeking to be famous for the attention and nothing else, right? But there's this other component of being famous, which is that, well, let's not forget what that means. That means a lot of people appreciate what you've created. So yeah, I mean, you create, like, so the other, I guess the other camp would say, which seems on the surface to be the opposite of what Rick Rubin is saying, which is that, why are we pretending we're not writing for the audience, right? I mean, we are writing for people to enjoy it. So to say, I don't care what people like, it's kind of like, I mean, you are writing to get people's attention because you want others to enjoy it. So that it's a completely legitimate thing to want and to aim for. But it feels like, if I'm trying to look at it and see if there's any common denominator between these two attitudes, in the end, it's about what you're saying, which is it's about connection. In Rick Rubin's case, he sees it as a connection to God and his relationship to whatever he believes God to be, and he's creating for that. He's connecting to that. Other people believe that they're connecting to others. They connect to others through their music. Right. But it's always about that connection. And I feel that we can maybe say, even that everything you said this alignment is that connection. You connecting to a channel that it is the correct way to do this through what you are. So that's the thing you're really connecting to. And that's why there's not one answer, but that answer would be very clear when it comes to you, when it starts moving through you in the proper way. And what I mean by proper in this case means proper to what you are and your function exactly. So when that happens, all of a sudden there's a flow. There's it's just happening to me. I barely have to do anything, and it kind of just unfolds. Would that be an accurate representation of that?
Yeah, it's all like, it's two sides of the same coin. It's really about, you're right, 100% the connection, but the connection is to self, right? Self first. Connect with yourself first in your alignment with, what's going to feel joyful to create, whether you're after that saying, well, it's going to feel joyful to create for others, or it's going to feel joyful to create for myself, or it's going to feel joyful to create for something else. The whole beginning point of that is connecting, to oneself first, and then being in alignment and pulling through the music. It'll taste different, right? For each reason that you're pulling it through, which is great. I mean, what does that matter? What matters is how you are experiencing yourself in this interaction. And I'm going to stand on the rock of, if it's exciting, then do it, because that level of excitement is a very high frequency, and not excitement of, I'm going to do this because I want to be famous because of whatever the fame brings me. Sometimes that's an excitement. It feels like pressure because there's a false perception of whatever that might be, because we'll never know what that level of fame feels like unless we're there. So you could be looking at something and have a completely unique experience that matches that you didn't even know was coming, which is really tough to lean into, right? Your perception of what, say, a certain artist's level of fame feels like is most likely 100% off. Because what they're experiencing and what they're showing you are going to be two different things, two different facades. So when you're going to align with someone else's frequency or level of fame, or even a group of people's level of fame, I'd be very, I'd say, cautious, in the sense that you want to ensure that you're getting the most optimal experience for yourself, what you're looking to experience and why, right? Yeah, we all want to make money doing the work that we do, and choosing to do something because it generates the most money is out of alignment unless it's what your soul is calling for, right? So if your soul is calling for fame because you know that that's where you're going to make the most impact for whatever it is you're here for, then of course those two line up. But if you're looking at fame like, well, that's where I've seen the most money come from, but I really want to be a pipe fitter because that's what I find so interesting and fun, there is nothing wrong with either of those two things unless you choose the money aspect first, because it just will be laden with punches in the face, right? Not work. It's not going to work because there's no alignment there. And I literally pointed directly to my left when I said pipe fitter, and directly in front of me when I said, famous whatever, because they're two completely different directions, right? If both of those things were in the same direction, then the experience could be accelerated.
Wait, I missed it. What is in two different directions?
If what you're choosing to do, like if you're choosing to do something that's just going to make the most amount of money quickly,
well, I think
something that is what your soul's desire is, if those two things are in two opposite directions, both intentionalities around them, that's what makes it get really scratchy,
Yes, and I would maybe add that there's even wiggle room there. So like what I'm connecting, for example, if somebody asks me why should people not aim for fame for its own sake, but for the enjoyment of the ride, well, for me the answer is very technical. Like I know this not from music, I know this from acting because I used to act, and when I was in that world, I saw when I was in Hollywood, I saw people come and go all the time. And it's almost like, a bus comes in with a bunch of teenagers trying to make it. And then 5-7 years down the line, only like 10% are left. And you kind of see the same faces, but most of them disappeared. And then the next bus comes and the next generation. And you just keep seeing it like a machine, right? Literally like a machine. And what you notice is that the reason that I know a couple of people that actually came for no other reason but to be famous and became very famous. right? So it can work. It's not like it's not going to work. But I would say that the reason is simple. If you're connecting your fulfillment to something that is extremely unlikely and very, very unique, and it's a one event kind of thing, versus connecting your fulfillment to many, many instances that are much more likely, it's easier to survive psychologically. Some people can survive into that, but it's just if you connecting your fulfillment, I'm only going to be fulfilled when I'm super famous. Well, might happen, but most likely it won't, or not as fast as you think, and then it's just pain until that moment, if it ever comes. But if you just connect your fulfillment to, hey, I nailed this role, or I really enjoy the craft, whatever it might be, well, then as long as you fulfill the craft well in that instance, you feel fulfilled, and that adds to the ladder that you're building towards whatever success is going to look like. Coupled with the fact that very often, and this is one of the biggest delusions in the industry, I think, is that there's many more, I guess what are called B-level stars that are very wealthy. They're very well off. They make really good money, but they're not, ultra famous, but they're known. If you see their face, you don't know their name, but you know their face. They made it. They have millions of dollars, but they're just not that known. So you don't, if you just tie your thing to just like, I just want to be the most known person in the world, well, yeah, then you can experience mostly pain. There's a lot more room in this B class, and it doesn't mean that you want to aim to be this mediocre thing, but if you just want to aim towards the craft versus some kind of an potential outcome, so it's from a technical standpoint, it's better to tie yourself to that kind of fulfillment versus anything else. And I believe that in music is the same. But one thing I would say is that specifically about the imposter syndrome, AJ, because I see it keeps coming back there. No, you keep asking if the imposter syndrome tied to a very particular instance of like, you basically asking about something specific, and then you're saying, so this is the imposter syndrome, right? So this is the imposter syndrome, right? No, the imposter syndrome is literally just like Wendy said, it's a software that runs in the background that is completely unrelated to anything else you're doing. If you would be in finance, you would still have that. It's something runs in the core, and it's just saying you're not enough. You don't deserve this thing. And it's funny because when you ask, there was this interview with Ray Romano, and somebody asked him in a documentary like about the imposter syndrome, and that was after the show was already like, that was already after Everybody Loves Raymond stopped being on air. Like that's already after he was a mega star, right? And they asked him about the imposter syndrome, and he said it never goes away. Like he says, I always have this feeling, if they only knew who I really am, they would immediately stop loving me. Now,
so and lean into that.
Yeah.
Right in that moment, lean right into that, then, Danny.
Well,
what you say, like what they can hear you say exactly what you're saying and relate it to themselves. That program runs no matter what.
No matter what.
Is running.
Yep.
Yeah, famous, not famous, it's running until, just specifically to imposter syndrome. What does imposter syndrome mean? The world is seeing me as something other than I believe myself to be.
Mm-hmm. And if they only found out what that thing is, they would immediately hate me. Because
yeah.
Yeah.
And what if you showed the world who you are, no matter what, then imposter syndrome has no place in it. Right? The difference being, when the program's running, that is who he was. Anyway, that was clearly who he was, creating what he was creating. And the imposter syndrome, being that it's always there, is something he addresses as a program. He just chucks like a monkey on his back and handles it because it's always there. That's my favorite place to work, by the way. With all these like high performing humans, they have that. They power through the programming versus let it stop them, but it doesn't mean it goes anywhere. Do you know what happens when you eliminate programming like that? Usually the monkey on their back, or that thing that they push themselves all the way through with force, their life becomes peaceful, harmonized, right? More joyful and accelerated in a beautiful way, when sometimes there's things that they've been after their whole life suddenly shows up. Not because of any other reason, except for they have released that programming.
There seems to be two different ways that people can well, two main ways that people can work through it. One that I heard that it sounds pretty intense, but I mean, I guess it can work. I'm good friends with you know who Daniel Bedingfield is?
Say that again.
Daniel Bedingfield.
Musician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we became really good friends while I lived in LA, and we stayed really good friends. And he's a very extreme person. So he's an incredible musician and a creator, but that also comes with the baggage of having everything comes with a creative mind, just a lot going on all the time. And he said that he got rid of the imposter syndrome. So after he became really famous in the UK with "I Gotta Get Through This," he started getting all these opportunities, and perform, and then he started trying to act like he believed famous people act, and that was his idea. That's the act that he was doing, and then he started developing this imposter syndrome. And he said the way I got over it is that he said imposter syndrome goes away when you know you suffered enough for it. So that, I don't know if I necessarily think I would recommend this path, but it can work. So I guess you can look at it in many different ways on different levels of emergence, because he was specifically talking about with a song, right? So like if you write a song, it's like, when do you know it's good enough? It's like, well, when you know you suffered enough for it. That was his measurement, right? It's like because it's never perfect, right? It's like, oh no, just one more thing. And it's like when you can no longer suffer no more, it's like, okay, that I gave it all that I can handle. So now if you don't like it, tough. Like I can't. Like I can't anymore, right? And I get it. But I believe there's maybe a newer or a finer or a easier way. And I think that this idea that you have to suffer enough for it is still some kind of a scam. And I think that what you're saying is a lot more correct, where the other way is to just realize it is literally just a program and you can just turn it off.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, yeah, but what do you mean? Like you just said nothing, because I don't even know it's a program. So how am I even turning it off? Well, it's true that it's a little hard to kind of deliver it, but it is as if you find where it is in the body when that happens, and you slowly learn how to recognize the signature that it is in your body, it becomes as easy as moving your hand. So just like you have no idea how you're doing this, you think you do, but you don't. Like if you do this for a second and ask yourself, how am I doing this? You have no idea. This just happens. You kind of want to do it, right? You just move your hand. But if I ask you, how are you doing it really? You give me all these like kind of answers from neuroscience. Well, your neurons are doing it. Yeah, but do you feel every neuron? Are you feeling every, like, no, you're just kind of willing it to be, right? It just kind of happens.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you can identify it in your body, you can identify its reality and its motion and how it propagates. And usually all of these programs, they always manifest themselves somewhere in the body. We just don't know how to pay attention to it. So if you can practice that, if you can, like, next time you really feel this kind of like feeling, Jay, that pulls you down, is like, well, feeling of guilt of some sort. Where does that hit you? The guilt, like, is it in the stomach? Is it in the chest? Is it in many parts of the body? Is it something in the face? Find that signature and keep paying attention to it. When you've identified enough of the signature, you can start playing with moving the energy around to different places when it's happening, and just taking some of the attention away from that region, like almost like you're moving it. And you realize that you can kind of learn how to move it just like you move your hand. You can just kind of.
Is that how you do it, Danny? Is that how you do it?
With some things, yeah.
Because that's so. There's so many ways to identify programming, right? Because I just use the emotions.
But sometimes people don't even know what I realize that sometimes people don't even know they can do that. Sometimes people have no idea they can feel where it's at in the body. They don't know that.
Yeah.
That's not a given to them at all.
It takes a lot. It takes a little more. Well, it depends. I guess each individual is different, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone recognizes something different than everybody else, and sometimes it's easier or not as easy. So I love that we're saying the same thing two different ways, because to me that feels very slow to identify in the body. But some people might identify it really quickly, like, oh, I feel that in my, I feel that in my gut, or I feel that in my knee, or I feel that, somewhere else. And then for me, it's what emotion am I having right now? Because that's the most present thing. It doesn't even land in my body before I've recognized that I'm having an emotional response to something and it's lower frequency. This is a program.
So for me, it's always about the universality of it. So for you, it's that way, but what does a person that it's not that way for them does? So like, what can we give a method to all people, no matter what their ability is? Like some people can't recognize that, right? So then the question is, what? So they're screwed? No, like there has to be something, right? It's like, well, if you can't recognize it, sorry. It's like, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like for you, it sounds like it comes naturally, and that's amazing. And maybe it's also why you're really good at what you do. But and maybe it's also like you working in the space where you meet a lot of people that are super aware in this way. But what is the universal version of that? What is the thing that is universally true? Like even for somebody who's not that good at these, identification inside themselves. But my emphasis is that this is not a metaphor. This is real. You can actually change it. Like truly, you can change it. It's not just like kind of feel good talk. No, you can really do it. Like just like you can do this, you can move it away. Now, I agree with you. That is a way slower way than the way you're doing it. But not everybody has the luck of working with Wendy Paquette. So if obviously people now more people know about you and they can reach out and they can investigate how they can get into working with you or in some way like how they can actually start working with themselves and then potentially getting to work with you. So, but I always like to leave people with some functional thing that shows them that there's a real there. It's not just like a pie in the sky idea that they can play with. But and actually we can maybe even do it for a vote. Like maybe here in the chat, maybe people tell me how many people here very easily identifying things inside of their bodies, or how many people here had no idea that they can identify these feelings, negative feelings and inadequacies in the body. Because sometimes I feel like very often people would say like, oh, I don't know, I just kind of feel it. They don't even know it's an actual physical manifestation of a sort. AJ is saying, fascinating. Can I test it with anything right now? Or do I have to have a negative feeling? No, you can test it with anything right now. Just sit down, put your hands down. Just put your hands down. Put your attention in your right hand. Just feel your right hand, nothing else. Now move your attention to the left hand. And then move it back to the right hand. So something changes, right? However slight, something changes. Whatever that is that changes, that's your attention. So when you're practicing Vipassana, for example, that's literally all you train how to do is how to move your attention from the top of your head to your feet slowly, part by part, piece by piece. You just move slowly. And then you learn, oh, I can literally move my attention like this. And then there's something about that is very purifying. That's basically what the Buddha taught. So then this is a way slower way. There's no question that Wendy's right about that. That's a way slower way than just turning off the software. And if you can't, so this might be a prerequisite if you don't already know how to do that. So to all the people that, just like Wendy's saying for her, it's just like, oh, I can just immediately know where it is in the body. Amazing. Okay, you're on a level where you can just turn it off. But if you don't, I think this is sometimes an impediment for people that are like, well, I can't even feel it. I don't know what you're talking about. And then it makes them feel even more inadequate. Well, now I'm bad in this way too. So it's like, well, no, just develop the ability to sense it more. That's all. And I promise you that when you feel the strong negative emotions, they actually are much easier to identify. We just never think about doing that because we wallow in it. But if you feel the negative emotion, it's much more accentuated than just feeling your hand. Okay, usually it's like, usually worry, anxiety, it's almost like weight. It's like here on the chest, it's usually on the bottom right here. It's hard to breathe. It's like on your diaphragm. It's like, that's why doing this kind of relieves some of that tension. But it's there. You can just identify the signature. So if you can feel that and you can breathe into it, so to speak. So you breathe and you feel in the attention, the breath, the attention of the breath goes there. So you put your attention and you breathe at the same time. That smoothens things out. But that's a partial solution. That's just like learning how to identify it. Then when you get better at that, now actually everything Wendy is saying will be a lot easier for you because you will, just like you don't know how you're doing it, but you can do it, in the same way, you'll be able to just turn it off without knowing how you did it. You just turn it off. It's like it's not you. It's a thing that is telling you things. It's literally like a little person sitting inside of you is like, Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? It's like, okay. And then
Yeah.
it's almost like it squeezes negative emotions out of you because that's the food that it's thriving on. And when it starts dying out, it starts acting out. It starts manifesting even more events for you to feel bad about. So it already knows what makes you feel terrible. So it will say the right thing for it at the right time to make you feel worse. And now when you're feeling it, it goes like, nom, 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 food. So it's like, okay, well, here's the thing. Am I actually, like, look around you. If you raised a family, if you have kids, right? You're taking care of your family. Don't get me wrong. Everybody, we all have moments, right? We all make mistakes all the time. But overall, everybody has food, shelter over their heads. Sounds like you're providing pretty well. Okay, well, that's more than a lot of people do for their families, right? Okay, that's something. You're not that bad. It's like we're all, hovering somewhere in the middle. Great. Now, what do you need to thrive? What would you now? All the questions that Wendy asked you from the beginning. What would you like to feel next? You deserve it. Yes, you deserve it. Then the second you can override this voice for 1 second, go and create something. That creation will make you feel substantial, will make you feel meaning, will make you feel like you did something of value. Boom, build on that. And it will intervene again. There's momentum to things. So just like you said that, in the beginning, you said that you had to take care of money. Yes, there's momentum to things. So if the situation was such that it required money, it has a momentum. It doesn't immediately stop. Okay, but you brought the money. Great. What's next? Don't keep going with the momentum of whatever you now made as the tool. Don't get lost in the tool. Continue, because your soul wants a lot more than just whatever you use to make money. Negative emotion goblin, somebody said. Thank you. If you like on
I have an episode. I believe I have an episode in my secret podcast that speaks about. I call it the feeling language. And the feeling language is it supports you to identify those things from that space. If you go to my website, it'll say at the top.
You're gonna put your website again. Hold on.
I put it in there it says podcast in there, but it'll actually take you to my secret podcast.
Okay.
Which you will often go to. It's not out there on iTunes. I have another one that's out there, but the secret one has some really juicy tools that will support you to understand how you can identify. And I describe all of these things in there so you can listen to it over and over. And I pulled a lot of that through when I was in the bathtub. I do a lot of like soul.
It's my favorite. That's one of my favorite things about it.
yeah, I soul channel in the bathtub. And it's all like judgment free, right? Because my ego is not involved. But there's a lot where I transmit. I don't teach, I transmit. That's what, honestly, I'm not teaching anybody anything your soul doesn't already know. I'm transmitting the frequency of remembering who you are through all of your good stuff, like through the uniqueness of you, through the gold that is you. So if you want to learn more of that, I'd be happy to support you and teach you all these things. That's why I am here. That's the most fun I could ever have. It's super exciting for me to witness everyone grasping all their greatness and experiencing themselves. It just really is so much. There's so much joy there for me. I would love to clone myself a million ways from Sunday. And
you can now.
Everyone individually.
You can now. You can literally create AI clones everywhere.
Scary thought. So yeah, check out the secret podcast. Do yourself a favor. Then come back on the Instagram and drop me a note and tell me what you thought. And if there's something that you would love to hear about, I will specifically for your audience, Danny, I will create an episode just for you guys. One speaking directly to what you're asking towards, because it's free in there. It's a secret podcast. It's free. So go get it. Like I will teach you whatever you want to learn. You're doing the work still, right? I'll just deliver all the information for you. So you just got to pop in there and gobble it up.
Well,
drop something in the chat. Like if there's something that people are after, drop it in there and I'll support you.
Amazing. You mean now, or you mean
right now? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, amazing.
I'll create one.
Okay, so
I have a YouTube channel, by the way.
Yeah. So if you can drop that one too, please. Hold on, let me see.
Yeah. I haven't really put much on it, to be honest. You guys, I've just begun sharing this outwardly. I did it in the spaces that were
Yeah, because you were basically
always
working. You were mostly working exactly, kind of like word to mouth, and you were always super successful. So you didn't really need any of this, right? So now you're kind of stepping more into the more of the
having the
public
most fun.
arena. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, there it is.
I'm
Okay,
having more
perfect.
fun than I could ever have. Listen,
Boom.
it would be so much fun. I love this formatting that you have, and it would be really fun for me to create from the space too. So I think what I'm going to do, Danny, is ask if you would support me to go live on my channel.
Absolutely, absolutely. We
Thank
we
you.
can bring our crowd. So whenever you're ready to do a live, we can all jump on yours and give it some love and help promote it as well. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, that would be an honor.
That would be
So that
really fun. Yeah, I would love that. And then you can ask all the questions you want, and I'll answer them all.
let's go, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Wendy, thank you so much for your incredibly valuable time. We are very, very grateful. Thank you, everybody, for there you go. We have people subscribed. Everybody subscribe to Wendy's channel. You can find it on YouTube now. So we have
Thank you.
the website that we just plugged. If you're on X or Twitch, I think on Twitch you can see it, but if you're on X, I don't know if you can see it. So just pop to YouTube, Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, and you'll see all the information. Wendy's website, Wendy's YouTube channel. Thank you so much for the gift, David Icon. I appreciate you. Also, I saw all the comments. We were just kind of flowing. And give Wendy a follow. Also, you can reach out on Instagram. And yeah, if you are, again, she's working is in this exact space, especially if you're a musician. But again, if you are creative on any level and you want to get rid of some programs that you feel are really not serving you, Wendy has how many years now of track record of pulling people? 11 years. So that's quite a track record. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Wendy, you're incredible. So we really appreciate you and the advice. And what is the wait, something happened before and I want to make sure that everybody are okay. Not really sure. I think somebody sent something. Okay, not clear. Okay, in any case, thank you so much. And yeah, we will be reconvening at some point on yours. You just let me know when, and we'll all jump in. I'll let the community know because we have a Discord community. I could always let people know in advance, and we can always jump on there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you want to follow me across platforms, it'll be Danny Goller on Instagram and TikTok. It'll be Goller Danny. Just swap them on X. It'll be Laser X83 on Twitch and Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts on YouTube. There you go. People giving you a lot of love, and I'm very much seconding that. And
thank you. I just want,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say thank you. I have so much gratitude for everyone's beautiful comments and questions, and for you having me here. And if you're okay, Danny, I could share my live masterclass that's coming up on the 10th.
Absolutely.
If anyone wants to come. It's usually $333, but right now it's like $33. So if anybody wants to come, it's $33 and it's going to be live 2 hours with me where we're going to totally go into all this stuff. And the secret is called, the masterclass is called Not This Timeline. That's what it's called, right? And what it is going to get you right in touch with your vision, what you want right now and where you're standing. And so it's going to be really, really fun. I would love to have you guys there.
Yeah. And one thing I can guarantee for the channel, and this is something I promise I always have done and I will always continue to do. I'm only bringing the people. We had Ben Joseph here, Ben Joseph Stewart, and we have Wendy now. I'm always bringing the people on that I know for a fact because I've had friendships and interactions with them for years, and I understand who they are, and I know what they're about, and I know what they do absolutely hits the highest note of trying to bring humanity to a better place. And these are the only people that I'm bringing here. So you never have to question. I mean, you can, of course, if you want, but my commitment to the community is always to bring only the people that are the highest echelon of people who are executing from the highest state of being. So every person that I will bring here to talk about their stuff and help us to understand more things will always be of this higher level vibration. So if we would never do promotions here for things that I don't think actually benefits people tremendously. So I know that this will, if there's something you're struggling with, Wendy's absolutely the address, and I highly recommend it. So what else did I was saying? Oh, Please join our Discord community. Of course, you can find the link on TikTok and on YouTube, on the main page on YouTube. Check out our website, codeofreality.com, in which we have these wonderful mugs of core. Have you seen the code? And we have these shirts that are almost out of stock. Literally, only a few more left. And we have the new one coming up around. But this is going to be a collector's item because it's literally never going to exist again, this exact design. So you're going to be helping the channel. Also, highly recommend you join the membership program on YouTube, simply because it gives you early access to all my content, private things from my life that exist nowhere else on YouTube members. Currently, you have the conversation with Andrew Gallimore already live on YouTube for members. The rest of the community can see it on Saturday, but if you want to see these things early, go and join the membership program, which will also give you access to weekly lives outside of the daily lives that are for members only, and in which we dive much deeper into subjects. We go talk philosophy and science and mathematics, and sometimes we dive very deeply into the technical stuff. Sometimes we talk about aliens. Last time we saw Itzhak Bentov's work, which is like super out there, and like core fundamentals of reality kind of thing. We have a lot of fun on those. Those are every Sunday. And if you sign up from the second tier and up, it also gives you access to Zoom calls with me once a month. And those are a lot of fun because we get to actually interact. We exchange notes. It's more of a family getting together kind of thing. Again, second tier and up, really not that expensive. I think it's like $7 or something for the whole month. If you are joining that one, please make sure to email me to lasersimulationx@gmail.com, lasersimulationx@gmail.com, so I can add you to the list of people that are getting the invite as the sunshine came right behind me. Perfect timing. Thank you so much, son. And what else? I think that's it. By the way, you don't need to memorize any of these things. All of it, the second you sign up for the membership program on YouTube on Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, it all pops in front of you so you know where to email and what to do. That being said, I deeply appreciate our amazing moderators, Ebony and Chris and Guru and Jessica. We have amazing moderators. There are moderators on Discord and here, and they are doing truly God's work to help us out. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without them, and I wouldn't be able to do our incredible work without people like David Carter and Irv and now Zoltan and a lot of wonderful people like Charlie and Marco. And oh my God, I have to list everybody. It's going to be forever. But we have so many different people that we owe huge thanks to for already contributing at a time. Man, I know I'm forgetting some very important people, and that's a little embarrassing. There's just so many people to name. Wait, I think a couple that I really have to mention. Let me make sure that I'm not forgetting any key people. Oh, Carmelo, of course. Oh my God, I almost forgot Carmelo, who's helping us with the software like in an incredible way. And if I forgot you, I'm really, really sorry. But there's so many different wonderful people that are helping us. Alexander from Germany, who's the physicist. Anyways, you guys get the picture. I'm really, really grateful, really thankful. Thank you, everybody, for all the community members themselves, the old and the new Evil Icon. Really appreciate you and all the gifts. MVL something, can't read the handle right now. And all the people here on YouTube that I was showing up, Mike Brighton and the Three Minds, The Mind. I think you just changed your handle, correct? I think you did. And thank you so much for all the people that are new, and also to you, Freemans, and all the people that showed up relatively recently. That being said, before I continue into my deeper rambles, I appreciate you guys. Much love. I'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, Danny.